Yo, hey guys, Bweeks here, back with another video. This is going to be a video on the fountain, an actual fountain guide. So, a quick disclaimer to get out the way before we get started is the fountain has two different levels, and depending on what level you have, you're going to have vastly different options. Really, with Fountain 1, you don't have a ton of options, but if you only have Fountain 1, you're watching this video, you can still apply the same kind of logic. It's just you're not going to have as much stuff to work with. So this video is really going to come into play when you've unlocked Fountain 2 after getting, the Town 4. Anyway, so with that out of the way, let's talk about the fountain. So first I'm going to talk about what each thing in the fountain does, and then I'm going to talk about some of my presets. So looking at the fountain, we have positive and negative, and you also have a place where you can throw in gold. So the way the fountain works, you have favor, you can select positive favor, and you can see we have extra gold gain and extra XP gained. And you see a money amount has shown up here. So that's going to be taken out of this. So if we have too much positive favor, we're going to have to pay money for the difference. Whereas negative favor, you get additional gold gain and get additional XP gain. And this is your minus favor up here. So we have -2. And if I add a +1, I go down to -1, and you see the results dip. So every 1 negative favor, you get 5 additional gold gain and 5 XP gain. And then for each amount of favor you add, it's going to exponentially increase, and you're going to quickly not have enough money to do any of this. It caps out at 200 million, but that's not really a thing you should have to worry about. I guess there could be a run where you do full positive favor, but you will never need to do that, basically. You'll never need to do that. Anyway, you'll probably never even want to do that. Anyway, that's enough rambling. So let's talk about what each of them actually do. So you should know the mechanics behind it. Expanded floors literally makes everything bigger, but this will give you the potential to find more enemies, find more gold, find more ore. There's also a possibility to have additional rooms and treasure rooms, but it's not guaranteed. So that's expanded floors. General traps. Traps deal 50% less damage. This applies to every traps, whether it's corridor traps or treasure traps or anything like that. General traps, I basically recommend this for everything. It's just less damage taken, basically. Topple towers all throughout some of the acts, and starting in Act 3 through the end of the game, you can encounter some towers. They usually pop up from the floor, and after a second, they will pulse an AoE. And for melee characters, they have to get close and attack this tower, and they have a chance of getting overlapped by all the AoE and just getting killed. So for melee characters, I would keep this one in mind. Safe corridors, this is kind of like the general traps one, but this is just the corridor trap, so it actually disables all of those. So as you walk around the floors, you don't have to worry about triggering these traps and just taking damage out of nowhere. This is another one I basically recommend for everything. Expeditious Expedition is additional movement speed. It's good if you can afford the favor. Exceptional consumables, health and mana pickups are 500% more effective. Pretty self-explanatory, it's just your pickups are 5x more powerful. It's your lucky day, you get additional luck. So this is actually a stat on your character sheet. Luck increases the percentage chances of things to happen. So if you have a 50% chance on hit to do something, luck is going to increase that 50% chance. If that's crit, if that's activating an item, so on and so forth, that's what luck is going to be good for. It doesn't affect anything like treasure showing up or anything like that. Plentiful gifts, an increased chance of finding imps. So imps can be useful if you're, farming for a certain thing. They may not always cooperate with you because they have, I think, 6 different options. It's XP, items, gold, keys, sending your gold to town, and I'm missing one. Yeah, something else I can't remember, but giving you ore. Can give you gold or ore, which is usually what people are going after. Sometimes sending ore back to town is good, but other than that, that's kind of what you're looking for with imps. Bigger bottle, you have 2 additional potion charges. You probably won't need this, maybe early game or for certain setups you can use additional potion charges, but you have 4 baseline with the apothecary. Once you get all the upgrades from there, bring it up to 6, and then there's the apothecary items. You can go a little higher, but you shouldn't need that many potions if you're using lifesteal. Anyway, unlimited springs. Wells have unlimited uses, so this kind of goes with the bigger bottle one. If you have potion charges, you can refill them at the wells. but you really shouldn't be relying on this. Like if you go up to 6 potion charges and you have to refill at the well every time, there's probably something else you need to address. But anyway, it's an option if that's like your playstyle, or if you're doing like some wacky build, maybe that could come in handy. Abundant shops. Shops have 2 more items. They usually only have 5 items that you can select from. This will bring it up to 7. If you find the other vendor item, you can see the fancy plume. You can see up to 9 items. But you don't really have to worry about this, but that's what it does. You get the 2 additional items. It can be really good if you're trying to do like a certain build where you're trying to force the trickster set, or trying to collect all 10 spheres or something like that. Then you want to take like abundant chops. Ace key, you get an additional ace key. You can buy the other keys from the shop before a run starts, but you can't buy an ace key. Usually what happens in runs is you'll find ace chest but not the key, or you'll find keys but not the chest. So this just guarantees that you find one of the 2 that you need. Infrequent threats. So there are great threats that spawn in Act 3 onward, and this just makes it to where they don't show up as quickly. This can be very nice if you're kind of low damage, or you're pushing like a higher NG and it's taking you a while. Great threats usually stack up more and more and kind of slow your run down to the point where you'll probably get overwhelmed and die if it's that bad. Mysterious guidance, increased chance of finding monoliths. So monoliths are just those little things you click on. They show up in all acts and they give you some kind of buff. There's an array of different ones. I think there's like 8 or so. Most of them are pretty good, maybe the exception of being like the additional gold gain, but even that is good in some situations. And the XP gain, that one's also good in some situations. Next up we have glass walks. Glass walks is just those little invisible tiles that you won't see unless you enable this, and it allows you to get to chests that you normally can't get to, and just kind of traverse traps a little easier. And in the battlements it also has like some pretty nice skips. So glass walks is very nice once you get it. You won't get that one until tier 2 of the fountain for sure. Treasure hunt. This one actually spawns additional rooms for treasure chest, so that's pretty good. It's different than the expanded floors because this one actually does something. Demolished spawners. There will often be these like enemy construct things that just keep pumping out enemies. If those kind of overwhelm you, you know, just demolish those spawners. Some classes are really good at dealing with them, others not as much, so maybe you want to demolish some spawners sometimes. Ace chest, so kind of like the ace key, this guarantees an ace chest of spawning, sometimes multiple. Anyway, then we have sluggish adversaries. This makes enemies movement speed decrease by 33%. So if you're trying to do something fancy where you need enemies to be slower, there you go, make them slower. Offshore account is tax reduction. So normally you get taxed for whatever gold you have in the town when you send gold back with an elevator or when you kill Thundersnow. This is just going to make that tax rate lower so you can actually bring more money to the town. So that's all the positives for the fountain. On the negative side, we have lousy consumables. So this is health and mana pickups are 50% less effective. So, you know, on the other side, we had 500% more effective. This is 50% less effective. We also have enemy reinforcements. So this is going to spawn additional enemies in your run. This will not include mini bosses or elite enemies, just regular enemies. So these are kind of the easy enemies, I guess you could say. We have spicy potions. So whenever you use a potion, you get confused for 2.5 seconds. You can, if you are actively knowing that you have spicy potions enabled, you can like do this and it not really affect you. But if you forget and you activate a potion, it can really mess you up. So this one is one you have to really be on your toes about. Lethal traps, or just never use the potion. Lethal traps deal 200% more damage. I basically would never recommend taking this one unless you're just avoiding all the traps and you need some negative favor. Not your lucky day, -3 luck. I heard this one's bugged and doesn't actually apply to your character sheet, but in case that ever gets fixed, it does -3 luck. So you can actually go into negative luck if it was fixed, and that would make it to where if you have a 50% chance of something happening, the -3 luck is going to make it lower than 50% chance. Then you have more elite enemies for the elite reinforcements. So these are actually the like red hat archers that shoot multiple arrows. These are the wizard type characters, some of the mage characters, some of the charging undead units. So these guys, you don't really want to mess with them. Also the spiked larva guy that shoots poison in the first act are elite enemies. There's a lot of pretty deadly elite enemies. This one you have to be really strong if you want to enable this one. Exhausted ore veins, no ore spawns. This one is kind of funny actually. So usually ore will just spawn on the map. This will make it where that doesn't happen, but ore can also spawn in chest. So you can actually open up a chest that would contain an ore, and there's just going to be nothing in the chest, and I always thought that was hilarious. Relentless threats, so great threats are more frequent, so that's kind of the opposite of the other one. If you're not getting overwhelmed by great threats, or you're doing the levels fast enough that you don't have to worry about the great threats at all, you know, just tack on relentless threats and see how it is. Next we have enemy overseers. Mini bosses spawn on every floor, so mini bosses are great if you can handle them. That's the big red bugs from Act 1 that spawn little bugs. That's the spinning dude in Act 3. Act 2, it's the larva that does the AoE. Act 4, there's these mages. Or that's not Act 4. I don't think there is a mini boss in Act 4. Anyway, Act 5 is the mages. And battlements, there isn't one. But anyway, mini bosses, they have a chance of dropping keys and items. So if you can handle them, you kind of want to enable this. Next we have one man guild. You get no bonuses from class titles. So as you progress all your characters, you get these class titles in your guild hall. As you can see, you know, 35 armor from the paladin, 25 from the ranger, so on and so forth, because you just beat those things on different NG levels. And this disables all of those, including the current character you're playing. So that's pretty hefty for -5 favor, especially the further you get in the game. It's just gonna add up more and more. Next we have agile adversaries. Enemy movement speed increased by 50%. So this increases movement speed, but not attack speed or cast speed. So a lot of times this can actually make your run go faster, because oftentimes you're corner pulling or pulling to a certain area. This will actually make it to where the enemies converge on you faster. And if you're using like an AoE ability, it will actually kill them faster because they're just next to you in a short amount of time. Next we have minor strike. Elevators are unusable. This sounds kind of crazy for early game, where you can't send your gold or ore back to town, but late game, if you're feeling pretty good about the run, they're going to defeat Thunder Snow. You can just take your gold and ore to town that way instead of using the elevators. So something to consider when you get to that point in the game. Dry springs, wells are unusable. So like I was saying before, with just potions, usually don't rely on them because you have some form of leech. But if you really don't care about, you know, potions at all, or having to refill, you can take dry springs and just go ahead and disable them. So you just start off with your 4 potions or maybe your 6 potions if you use that. Next we have sealed cracks. No secrets will spawn. So as you go throughout the floors, you can see cracks in the walls or the bat eyes. These will basically get rid of all of those. Next we have empty pockets. Bosses and enemies will not drop any loot. So this counts for all the axe bosses and the mini bosses. They won't drop anything. Next we have instant death. Your base health is set to 1. So that's it's a little misleading. It sounds like you go down to 1 health, but you go down to 1 base health. So you can still get items that increase your health after you go to 1, but it puts your base at 1, so anything that increases it by 1% is going to increase that 1 by the percentage, which is pretty horrible. This is basically a meme. Next we have public holiday. No dungeon shopkeepers. So usually you want dungeon shopkeepers because that's an extra 3 items per act, but maybe there's some reason you don't want it, and this will give you 14 favor if you don't want it. Alright, so that's what everything actually does in the fountain. So I'm going to talk about 3 different loadouts I use and what I use them for. I'm just going to hover over each of them for a second, and then I'll go into each and talk about them. So first I have my just general. I'm going to go and beat the tower run, and that's this preset 1. Next I have my ore farming setup. This is preset 2. And then third, I have my speed leveling setup, which I'm going to make a separate video about it, but basically it tries to maximize negative fountain effects to get XP. Anyway, so preset 1, this is my general bread and butter go-to setup. We'll talk about it quickly. Expanded floors doesn't do anything, so I don't care about the favor. I'm already +5 favor, so it's going to be, you know, 4.6k gold, and I can lower that. So this whole fountain thing is adjusting it to tailor what you need or what you feel you need and making it affordable. That's all we're doing here. So we have general traps. I want to take less damage overall. If I'm playing a melee character, I want to destroy the towers, or maybe I just don't want to deal with them at all. If I'm playing a ranged character like the ranger, I can take off that, save some money. Easy switch. Next, safe corridors, so as I'm going through the map, I don't want to get hit by traps, so take that off. I want my run to go faster, so add the movement speed. If you don't care about that, you don't care about the towers, you can take both those off and it's almost free. I don't take I don't take exceptional consumables. 1, because I take lousy consumables, and 2, because I have leech in the chapel, so I'm not really worried about the mana side or the HP side of it. The mana side, I just sustain from either waiting or getting the sorcerer NG levels to get the mana regen. Next we have lucky day. I like luck. I always go crit. Ranger is high on evasion. I also value evasion on like every character. It helps a lot with the luck. What else? Yeah, crit, combo, and evasion are basically the big ones that you want luck for. Next I do plentiful gifts. I just always like seeing imps. I can get some extra ore, get some extra gold when I'm just doing my normal runs. Perfect. I don't take these. You could take any of these. Again, I don't take bigger bottle because I don't use potions. I don't care about wells having any unlimited uses because I don't use potions. Shop keeps having more items would be nice, but it jacks up the price a lot, and I haven't really been able to balance that. But if I'm certainly going for like a special type of item build, I might go abundant shop, take off movement speed, take off topple towers, spend a little extra money, try to do it that way. But that's not my standard way to go. The same thing could be applied with ace key or infrequent threats, depending on what you need and what you're trying to prevent. If you're trying to get a certain setup, go with that. If you're trying to get some more legendaries for whatever reason, go with that. If you're trying to get less great threats because they've been overwhelming you, go with infrequent threats. It's very customizable, and that's like the purpose of the fountain. Then I have mysterious guidance. I love monolith buffs. Save them to the end of floor and try to carry them over to a boss or just get as much benefit from them as possible. Love, love, love some monoliths. Next, glass walk and treasure hunt. I'd almost say these are mandatory if you're trying to push the tower because you want to get as many items as possible to make it as easy as possible to complete the run. Again, with the other options we were talking about, you could also do demonish spawners if those are overwhelming you. And these last ones I don't really value that highly. Tax reduction on the ore when I use it, but not on this one. So I don't take it here, it's just for a standard run. I'm not trying to bring more money to the town, I'm trying to beat the tower. Sluggish adversaries, like I said before, you have to have some kind of negatives, so I actually use the increase speed, so it doesn't really work to use the increase and the decrease speed at the same time. So the negatives I'm using to balance all this out: lousy consumables, so I just give up consumables altogether. I have enemy reinforcements, which these are the little enemies that you're not really worried about. So I add those in. It's also extra XP just by having more enemies. Helps keep up with the 5 levels per NG. So that's very nice. I skip all of this stuff. I can kind of tell you why. If I want to use a potion, I don't want to get confused. Definitely don't want to take more trap damage. I'm going for positive luck, so I don't want negative luck. Even though this is bugged, you could take it. Elite reinforcements. Elites are super deadly. Definitely don't want those on my progression runs. On your progression runs, you technically could take no ore spawns, but I like just being able to get some ore in addition to a little bit of gold as I go through the tower. Relentless threats. If you're not worried about threats, go for it. Sometimes I'm pushing and it takes a while, and I don't want to see a bunch of relentless threats because it might just kill my run. So I'd rather spend the gold than you know, keep it, but lose the run. Enemy overseers, that's more items. One-man guild is basically impossible if you're trying to actually push agile adversaries. So enemies are faster. I don't care about elevators because I'm trying to kill thunder snow. If you're trying to do like a weird hybrid where you're trying to get ore, and you know, if you fail, you at least got the ore and whatnot to town, you could go taking it off and adjusting things over here. But I do a completely separate run if I'm going for ore. I do leave the ore gain on up here, so if I do find ore, great, but I'm not like, my sole purpose of going into the tower isn't to get ore, and my sole purpose isn't to try to get ore from the imp as well, but if it happens, it happens. So that's why I have those things enabled, just to have that chance. Dry springs, don't care about wells, don't care about potions, don't care about consumables, so staying consistent with that. Sealed cracks, you need secrets to spawn to get more items. You need items from bosses. You can't you can't consistently beat the game with 1 health, and you need more items from shopkeeps. So that's what we do for our standard bread and butter run for the tower, and you can adjust it however you would like, but that's what I use and why. Next is the ore gain. So this is the one where I use where I'm flying through on NG0 as a paladin, and I'm just charging through. I'm doing the portal skips for Act 1, 2, 3, and 4, going all the way to Act 5 as soon as possible, slash the battlements, because that's where you're going to get all the ore. So with that stuff in mind, this is what I take. Go general traps, because I just don't want to deal with traps. Again, don't want to deal with traps. I'm going to go for the imps to try to get additional ore if I find them, just randomly. I'm actually taking bigger bottle here because I'm going to be charging so much on the paladin. I'm going to use the potions to just charge more instead of having to wait. But I'm only taking the +2. Mysterious Guidance. Monoliths can be increased gold gain or increased, or the endless potential where you don't have any mana cost. So you get like a bunch of charging, or you get a bunch of gold. So I take that just to have the chance of getting those. Glass Walks helps you go faster. Treasure Hunt helps you get additional rooms with ore in them. And then I go offshore accounts to get reduced tax reduction, so I can take even more gold to town, which converts into even more ore to town. For the negative side, I go lousy consumables. I'm not picking up consumables. You could try to do this, or you go exceptional consumables instead, and try to pick them up when they're convenient instead of using a potion charge, but I haven't felt like I've needed that, but that'd be the one small thing I could change. Elite reinforcements, or enemy reinforcements, I'm not worried about enemies in this case. I'm basically charging past them all, so the enemies don't really matter to me, but the elite ones will kill you, so I have that one turned off. It's not your lucky day. Again, in this case, I don't even need the luck. I don't have it on this side, I don't have it on this side, because you don't really need to kill anything except for the vampire boss, because you can actually deposit before Thunder Snow if you can't beat him. So anyway, I don't go for luck at all here. I don't go for elite reinforcements because they're pretty brutal. Obviously you want to keep ore veins on. I go for relentless threats because I'm going to be charging through the levels. You know, they're not really going to be spawning. Enemy overseers, I leave them on just because it's additional negative favor. Agile, they can move faster, it doesn't bother me. Minor Strike, I'm not going to be using elevators. This is one you can disable if you can't beat Thunder Snow. You just deposit before Thunder Snow instead. I'm very confident I can beat Thunder Snow every time, or like 99.9% of the time. So I take Minor Strike, that's fine. Dry Springs, I'm not going to be using wells to refill my 6 potion charges. I'm just going to be using 6 potion charges to zoom to battlements and be done with it. Sealed Cracks, I'm not stopping for any secrets. I don't need any items. I'm just going for ore. That's all I'm going for. Empty Pockets, again, I'm only killing 1 boss, or 2 bosses if you include Thunder Snow, but Thunder Snow doesn't drop any loot, so I'm only killing Vampire. So I'm really not losing much for 10 favor here. I also don't really care about items. And then Public Holiday, no dungeon shopkeeps. I don't really want to spend the time going after shopkeeps. I'm also skipping them until Act 5. And then also I don't want to spend the money because I would rather bring that money to town to buy more ore. So that's my ore gain setup. And lastly, we have the XP, as much XP gain as possible. So this is what I would use if I just started a new character. So usually what happens, this is like very niche, but this is usually what happens is when I first start a new profile, you have the 4 unlocked characters, the base characters, the Ranger, Sorcerer, Paladin, Warlock, and I play those to like NG0, then I go to the Paladin NG2, and then from there I want to level up the new characters I unlocked, and that can be the Gladiator with the DLC, the Witch Hunter with the DLC, or the Thief, Priest, and Wizard that you find throughout the run. So this is a way to just power level them really quickly. You can set up your fountain, and then also, I need to make a video on this, but basically you set up your fountain to have the max negative favor you can accomplish. You go in with your new character that you've already bought all the upgrades on, and you set it to NG2 to get even more XP, and you just run through killing stuff, and this is going to give you, you know, 3x times the XP. You're going to use the XP drinks, some XP items, and you're basically going to get level 20 in like 15 minutes, I believe, is the fastest I've done it. You could probably do it faster, but this is what I use to do that. Safe corridors, so you disable traps in the corridors because those are going to basically one-shot your new character. Expedious Expedition, just to move faster. I felt that moving faster was more XP, so it was, it saved me time. Even though taking it off gives me additional 10% XP, it's actually faster to have the movement speed. Then I go Mysterious Guidance. The monoliths can give you the XP monolith, which is huge. It would probably bring it down to like a 7, maybe a 10-minute run, because I think you have to do it multiple times, or you definitely have to do it multiple times, but that's fine. And then on this side, all the negatives, so lousy consumables. I guess I'll just talk about the ones we don't take. Spicy potions. I needed potions, so I used them when I needed them. If you want the extra 10% XP, go for it, but I think this is going to save your life a few times. Enemy Overseers is mini bosses. Mini bosses were crushing my person early on, but I could probably turn this on after I got the first couple of levels. One-man guild, again, kind of impossible. And instant death, also impossible. So that is the fountain in a video. Yeah, that's a video guide for the fountain. Hope I didn't leave out anything, but that's the basic overview of how I use the fountain, what I use it for, my different presets, what everything the fountain does, positive, negative, favor, all that fun stuff. Let me know if you guys have any questions or comments about this video, if there's a preset that you guys use for something else that might be useful for me to know, or anyone else watching. And hope you guys enjoyed. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.